Hello, welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy and happy, as always, to be alongside my good friend Joe Stanley. Welcome, Joe.
It's always a delight to see you, Darcy, and to be here with you. I am loving these warmer days, and while they're a little bit cool still, the nights are getting there too. And we've been using it as a chance to do a bit of stargazing in our family. It's beautiful.
I like that, Joe. We've had some clear night skies lately. I love being in the bush where the skies are lit up with an incredible blanket of stars. And I've been lucky enough a few times to see the odd meteor shower, Joe, because when I was a kid, my parents and my family moved to a place called Roxby Downs. It was almost in the middle of Australia. I was pretty sad as a kid when the news came through we were moving there, but it's one of the best places in the world for stargazing, so that was a pretty common occurrence.
Wow, I've actually never seen a meteor shower or even a falling star, which is a bit of a shame. I still hold out hope for that, but apparently October is a good time to spot Venus, Jupiter and Saturn if you're into planet gazing. And on the space theme, Darcy, I'm still getting my head around the recent world-first civilian mission to space. The Inspiration 4 crew spent 3 days orbiting Earth. What an amazing thing.
Yeah, 2021 has sure been remarkable in terms of human beings taking that next giant leap. The billionaires Jeff Bezos from Amazon and Richard Branson both flew into space aboard their own private rocket ships. Can you believe that's a bit more impressive than even owning your own jet, that one, Joe?
I'm a little unsure how I feel about space tourism, I have to say, because there's so much money being spent there when there's a lot to be fixed on this planet, you know?
I think you make a reasonable point, Joe. I understand, billionaires having the capacity to do that. I must admit, I'm a little bit inspired by it at the same time, though.
Well, when it comes to exploring that next great frontier of space, some people might be surprised to know that Australia is up there. We helped the world watch man land on the moon via our satellite dishes at Parkes and the ACT, and we've sent 3 people into space so far: oceanographer Paul Scully-Power, astronaut Andy Thomas and engineer Chris Boshusen.
Yeah, all trained with NASA in the States, and now a Tasmanian-based student, Katie Vanderoo, is bound for NASA too.
I've always really been interested in science fiction and fantasy, read a lot of books that are based on other worlds, watched a lot of movies that are set on other worlds.
University of Tasmania astrophysics student Katie Vanderoo is taking her interest in other worlds to a whole new level. Under the guidance of Associate Professor Andrew Cole, Katie has spent the past 4 years working on a PhD project examining exoplanets, planets located outside our solar system.
If you think about the solar system, just the 8 or 9 planets that we know of around our sun, it's a very limited view of what it means to form a planet or how planets could have originated.
Our mission is to either prove or disprove that a planet exists in that region, but also figure out the fine print of what type of planet it is. Is it a super Jupiter or a super Earth? And also, what type of star does it orbit? Is it a star like our sun, or is the star bigger or smaller?
What we'd really like to discover is a planet that is somewhat similar to the Earth, orbiting a star that is somewhat similar to the sun, so that we can put our finger down and say, X marks the spot. This is another example of something that could be supporting life as we know it.
Thanks to its unique position and clean air, Tasmania is one of the best places in the world to observe our galaxy. But it takes a lot more than the right location to track down planets that are thousands of light years away.
Exoplanets are difficult to find because they are essentially what we call dark bodies in space. They don't have any internal mechanism where they emit their own brightness. Like the Earth doesn't shine in the night sky. We reflect light from our sun, but that's for someone who was 20,000 light years away, that wouldn't be bright enough for them to see.
To detect and study these hidden planets, Katie uses a specialised technique called gravitational microlensing, which relies on a chance alignment between the Earth, an exoplanet and its host star, and light from a background star.
We have to deal with timing and weather and equipment that might not be cooperating during the crucial 5-minute window that you have.
You need to be looking in the right place at the right time, but the planet also needs to be in the right place at the right time. So you can definitely miss a discovery.
To give herself the best chance at overcoming these challenges, Katie has been remotely accessing the Keck Observatory in Hawaii.
The Keck telescopes use something really cool called adaptive optics, which is a way to correct for atmospheric distortion. So we can get really high-resolution images. When you make a new discovery and you get a definite result, it's really exciting. But of course, it's not just one moment. It's this slow burn excitement where you've been working on something for a really long time.
Katie's astronomically hard work has paid off. Thanks to her discoveries on the properties of 3 exoplanet systems, she's just been offered a dream gig working for NASA, where her research will contribute to the development of the Roman Space Telescope set to be launched in 2027.
I'm really excited that Katie's going to get to experience such a vibrant and intense sort of workplace culture that is really at the center of astronomical research.
When I did get the job, it was kind of unbelievable, and telling people about it was kind of cool because everyone was really excited. With a space telescope, we will be able to observe stars that are much fainter or further away, and planets that are a lot smaller, which we haven't found that many of. So at the moment, with ground-based microlensing, our limit is at maybe 5 times the size of the Earth. But there are probably planets that are much smaller than that we just can't detect from the ground.
Oh, she is such an inspiration for young girls to get into science, technology and maths, don't you think? It's something I am very passionate about, Darcy, and the good news is that gender equality and participation by girls in this field is slowly going up.
Yeah, well said, Jo. Well, women now represent around 28% of people working in STEM industries, which is an increase. Still a big gap though, Jo, as you say.
Yeah, that's why we need to tell stories about all the Katies out there. Up next, we meet another rising star of girls in space who's set to become Australia's first female in space.
Before the break, we met young Katie Vanderoo, who's got her sights well and truly set on space. Now, Jo, did you know that only 570 or so people have ever travelled into space, and 90% of those have been men?
NASA said it'll put the first woman on the moon by 2024, and that's about time, as that's more than 60 years since Russian cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova became the first woman in space.
Leading the charge to make space more gender equal is Ellis Hayes, who's gearing up to become Australia's first ever female in space. She was selected as a global ambassador for a US astronautics program.
Kim is one of 13 female candidates from around the world taking part in the POSSUM program that'll study spaceflight, the atmosphere and climate change. I began by asking Kim what the POSSUM program is all about.
So the POSSUM program is a citizen science program designed to conduct science in the upper atmosphere. So POSSUM actually stands, it's a really long acronym that stands for Polar Suborbital Science in the Upper Mesosphere. And there's like, if you think of the atmosphere as a cake and there's layers to a cake, the mesosphere is up near the top. There are icy clouds there called noctilucent clouds, and they are thought to play a role in climate change. And so the program was initially set up to measure these clouds and to find out more about these clouds and to see if there was some kind of an effect on climate change and just on things like, you know, you think about a spacecraft when it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, could these icy clouds potentially affect that? And so it's a really interesting subject, and so the program was established initially for that.
And of course, it requires a huge amount of training. Can you take us through what sorts of training you've done so far?
So I'm partway through, thanks to COVID. The flight portion's been postponed But before you do that, you have to learn the academic materials behind what happens to your body when you go to space, what happens if you don't have enough oxygen and that sort of thing. And so you learn about the atmosphere, the science behind the atmosphere. You learn the science behind what happens in your body, and you learn what the environment of space is at that altitude as well.
So what sorts of science will you study when you're up there?
You can do all sorts of things from testing spacesuits. You can test how fluids and different materials react in weightlessness. You can check to see if a particular piece of equipment that you might have designed to operate in space will actually operate in weightlessness. So it's an incredible way of testing and qualifying components for operation in space, being able to do a suborbital flight.
And you have such an incredible background, Kim. You're a space lawyer, which is something I didn't even know you could be. What has been your interest in space? Why have you been drawn down that path?
I've always loved space. I've always looked up at the stars and wondered what's out there. Ever since I was small, and I started as an industrial chemist at BHP Steelworks in Newcastle, actually, when I left school. And I never thought that anybody could be a space scientist or work in space or any of those things. And so I ended up studying at the International Space University under a scholarship back in 2010, and lived in France for 3 months and learnt everything there was about space. And I thought, right, that's it for me. This is what I need to be doing. And at the same time, I went back to school and did a law degree, and I decided that, space law really enables operations in space. So the International Space Station is a cooperative program made up from a number of different countries. And so there's a contractual agreement between those countries that allows that space station to operate in space. Did you know that each module of the space station is actually owned by different countries? And so if you step into the US module, you're under US jurisdiction. If you step into the Japanese module, you're under Japanese sovereignty. So it's a really interesting area. It just excites me every day.
It does feel very futuristic to someone like me who has no real knowledge of the space industry.
Well, I think, it's interesting. Space is something that we don't normally see. It has an influence in our everyday lives through all of the things that we do. We are talking across this link here between two countries because of space services, because of communications. Banking utilises timestamps on all of its transactions, and that little phone that you have in your pocket every day utilises GPS to help you get from A to B and tell you a whole host of other things, and those things are enabled by space services.
You and I are both passionate about seeing more girls involved in STEM. What would you say to a girl who's watching this right now that may inspire her to continue following her dreams along the path of STEM?
So I guess don't let anybody tell you can't do it. If there's something that you really want to do, that when you think about it, you're always wanting to know more. You're excited. You can't wait to wake up the next day and learn more. Don't let anyone tell you, oh, you can't get a job in that area, or you can't do it, because so many people told me that. And if I had listened to them, I might have never had the opportunities that I have had. And just don't ever limit your thinking by what other people think. It's only what you think that matters.
I tell you, Darcy, I was so inspired by Kim. She's a real quiet achiever, and what a career.
Yeah, incredible, inspiring person, Joan. We've talked about private space flights, which are all the rage, which is a bit ironic as most of us still can't even travel interstate at the moment. So tickets for a Virgin Galactic flight are around about $450,000. How about this price aside, Joe? If you could go into space travel? Would you be up for it?
No. I mean, I don't like being on a plane. I'm figuring you've got to be on a plane for a long time to get to space. So that's no, thanks.
So I'd love to. And I read about all the people, 570, as we said before, that once you see the curvature of the Earth from space, it changes the way you think about life almost immediately. So the idea to get up into space and look back at the Earth has always appealed to me, Jo.
It does sound amazing. I totally relate to how that would blow your mind to see the planet from out there. Amazing. But I can look at pictures to do that.
Well, from blasting upwards to supporting the seniors in our lives if they take a tumble, we check out some of the high-tech safety nets for our senior citizens. That's coming up next on the House of Wellness.
Welcome back to the House of Wellness Kitchen, where my health pal GQ and I both share a passion for plants, but for completely different reasons, right, mate?
That's right, Heinzie. And while you're focusing on the flavour and the delish factor of certain plants, I'm more interested in what they can do for our overall health and our insides.
Which we both ultimately care about, GQ. Now, when it comes to health, look no further than hemp seeds. Now, despite their name, they're actually a nutritious nut, and they're actually the hero of my delicious choc chip hemp seed cookies.
And although hemp is a member of the cannabis family, hemp seeds contain little or no THC, which is the psychoactive principle within the marijuana plant. Hemp seeds actually deliver a naturally balanced great source of the omega-3s, 6s and 9 fatty acids.
I love this, mate, because typically these fatty acids are highest in seafood. So this is a fantastic option for those who might have allergies, perhaps those people who don't like taking fish oil, and even those for lifestyle reasons where seafood simply isn't on the menu.
Absolutely, Heinzie, and it's really important that we find a way of getting these essential fatty acids into our body. They're so important. Our circulatory system needs them, joints, brain and skin health all rely on them.
It's such a big job, mate, and thankfully hemp is really easy to incorporate into your everyday life so that you can get that health and vitality from those omegas. Now, I'm using the seeds today in these delicious cookies, and they're almost ready for the oven. You can actually get hemp seeds in oil form too, using a cold-pressed extraction method to retain its nutrient value.
And hemp seed oil is also available in an easy-to-take supplement.
Sounds like there's something for everyone, mate.
Well, being healthy isn't that hard, Heinz. Now, I'd like you to post some of those down to me, please. A padded bag.
Hang on, why is that my job? Why am I doing it?
Well, Heinzie, that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Oh, please. The A to Z of vitamins is brought to you by Go Healthy's Go Hemp Seed Oil 1,100 milligram, an extra virgin cold-pressed hemp seed oil to provide a balanced source of omegas 3, 6 and 9.
Jo, when I think about getting older, I think we'd agree that living as independently as possible, including in our own homes, is the ideal. And when I think, you know, my parents, as they got older, it's something that I personally desperately wanted for them.
Yeah, absolutely. My mum is on her own and incredibly fit and really vital, and I want to keep her there as long as possible. She loves her little house, loves her dog, loves her lifestyle. It keeps her young, you know. We
had the same experience with my grandma, Nana Darcy, who's a family legend in our house. He lived, I think it was 95 or close enough to it, but Dad, as an only child, was just really systematic in making sure she was not leaving that house, and we all sort of had a roster around making sure we were around for her, which in the end was really beautiful.
Yeah, so we don't want to fuss too much about our parents as they get older, because I think they can find that patronising and a bit annoying. But the thought of something happening when they're on their own can be a worry, and thankfully these days there are a stack of monitoring and alert devices available, especially in case of a fall.
Thank you for that. Did you want one as well, is it? He's a bit of a stubborn old devil. He always has been. He hasn't changed. He and my mum built the house 70-odd years ago. We grew up here, and I think he'll be taken out of here in a box, really. That's about how it's going to go.
Eddie Mace has always been fiercely independent. Now, in his 100th year, nothing has changed.
When we started to need care for Dad, it was so difficult to work out who and what and where, and the paperwork, it's insane. So we eventually found a group, it's called the Carers, and they have been amazing. They're just fabulous.
Oh, yes. They sure looked after me.
They have.
But Eddie still spends a lot of time by himself.
He's not a great faller over person. He still walks unaided. He doesn't use a cane or anything like that. But he did have a stumble and he had a fall.
Well, I started having some problems with my balance and just sensation, and I found myself tripping a few times at work, which isn't very good when you're a nurse.
6 years ago, a congenital spinal cord defect forced Mike Snudden out of his nursing career.
My wife was always saying to me, look, you know, if you fall, what's going to happen? You know, you don't always have your phone with you. And I said, well, look, maybe I need to carry something. And I didn't like the idea of carrying a big pendant style thing. So I wanted something that was more a wearable, if you like.
Mike started researching fall detection devices and ended up with a cupboard full of rejected gear.
A lot of devices were either too sensitive or not sensitive enough, and oftentimes they were developed by people that didn't really understand, you know, the need.
He eventually found a couple with good GPS and connectivity and thought they might benefit others as well. It set him on a new career path of matching monitoring devices to specific needs.
There's more and more people, as we know, living in their own home, and the focus is to try and have people ageing in place because that's where they do the best. You take them out of that environment, you put them into some sort of care, they decline, their health will decline oftentimes. Being able to have something, either a pendant that they wear around the neck or something that they wear on the wrist that will keep them secure and give peace of mind to the other person as well, that's huge.
After he had the stroke, it's left him weak in his body and his balance is uneven. So he does have falls every now and again.
Jack and Zelma Keeley ran the local family supermarket for 40 years before Jack had a stroke.
And just lately, the last few months, he'd had a few extra falls, and I started to worry then if I wasn't, if I wasn't home, was he okay?
After checking out the options, Jack wears a smartwatch that connects to a home-based alarm and a monitoring centre.
When we sort of got recommended to the Space Talk watch, it just gives me sort of peace of mind that if something was to happen, I will know about it.
If you're a person that's had a fall and your smartphone's sitting on the bench and you can't reach it, you might be there for days.
With the rapid advances in mobile phone technology filtering through to fall warning devices, they're now practical, discreet and reliable.
These types of watches are developed for seniors or for people with disability, and that's their focus. So they keep it low tech, but with all the main features that you need. So as long as you've got connectivity to a mobile network, then it can send through that call, if you like. That goes through to the monitoring centre, and then they can then answer the call and they can speak to me on the watch.
Instead of a watch, Elizabeth opted for a pendant for her dad, Eddie.
It goes straight to them, and then they contact us, they call us and say, he's pressed the device and we're sending an ambulance. They will talk to him on the phone to see if they can figure out what's happening. But these days, with his speech being so difficult to understand, they tend to just get in touch with us or see if we can send someone around, or they'll just send an ambulance anyway.
It makes me feel comfortable, and it makes me know that if I'm to have a fall, there's a wicket keeper, and that's going to help me. Because when I fall, I can't move.
Well, I sincerely hope that, like Eddie, I'll be chopping wood when I'm 100, Joe. That's amazing. The advances...
Can you chop wood now?
No. but I'm going to get better at it. By the time I'm 100, I will be going better than ever. The advances being made with that wearable technology is just mind-blowing for me.
Yeah, falls are the leading cause of injury-related hospitalisation for people over 65, and around 30% of people in that age experience at least one fall a year, which is staggering. So it's comforting that we have these technologies around.
Absolutely. Now, coming up, the Aussie farmer who's bearing all in a bid to get country people talking about mental health. That's next on the House of Wellness.
Hi, I'm Jade Kisnorbo and welcome to my world of beauty. From the latest trends in skincare and makeup to creating a look that's just right for you, I've got the tips and tricks to make you look and feel great from the inside out. Taylor, being a makeup artist, I love once your eye makeup is all complete, that step of putting on a beautiful lash.
The only thing is, I get so scared applying a fake lash myself.
I have the lash for you. So it's Glam by Manicare Hydro Lash range, which has a water-activated band. So that means say goodbye to glue adhesive.
How amazing. Do you know what this also means? No more flappy lashes in my photos.
Oh, I'm here for this. False lashes play a really significant role in eye makeup. Lashes really structure your eye shape, so if you want to elongate your eye, they do that. If you need a little bit of height in the middle of your eye, they do that. So for me, they're really the finishing touch and one of my favourite beauty products to use.
Jade, the range has the 4 mink effect styles, so you can go from something more natural to more dramatic depending on the event.
So beginning with the application process, I always use tweezers. It's just more hygienic and the precision is really important when it comes to lash application. I do realise that I need to trim a little, so I'm just going to go in there with some tiny little beauty scissors and really tailor the lash. Get it? You like my little pun there?
Very good, very good.
So once you've tailored the lash, you just pop it on and line it up and make sure that it's lined to the outer corner of your eye, and it really gives you that beautiful lift and that shape that we're after. So the next step is to activate the adhesive. So once you've removed it from the water, just wave it around and wait around 60 seconds for it really to absorb and activate that adhesive.
That's so quick.
So now comes my favourite part, and it's simply laying them on top of your lashes and starting from the outer corner and then bringing it in to where it finishes. And it's really important, if it ever gets stuck and it's not sitting on the lash how it should, just lift the lashes up and it just will fall into place. Hydro Lash is suited for everyone. They're latex-free, they are long-wearing, and that's the first thing you look at when you're applying a lash. And the thing that really blew me away is the fact that you can use these lashes 3 times. So that's great because at the end of a night or at the end of an event, pop them away with all your makeup and you can reuse them. So I've just realised I may have put myself out of a job because I've got you to master the lash application and therefore you don't really need me anymore.
Sorry, Jade, but I'm an expert now. Bye.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Taylor Demir there getting the lowdown on lashes from Jade K. Who would have thought that eyelashes can be applied with water? I know you're thrilled to know that, Dance.
Well, that's something I didn't know, Joe, and I'll take that away with me today. Hey, we do talk a lot about mental health on the House of Wellness, and programs like Gotcha for Life, run by our good friend Gus Worland, focus on the challenges faced by many living in rural areas especially.
A lot of us dream of escaping the city for a tree change, and for good reason. National rural health bodies report that people in the country regularly fare way better in things like life satisfaction and feelings of well-being. People in the country are a lot more connected to their neighbours and friends in the community. But on the flip side, rates of self-harm and suicide are higher in remote areas, and so is smoking and risky drinking levels.
Yeah, programs like Gotcha for Life, as we mentioned with Gus, have proven that the best weapon to fight for improving improve mental health is often just to get people talking, Jo, and speak up when times are tough.
That's where fifth-generation Victorian farmer Ben Brooksby comes in. Like many country folk, Ben's had his share of hardships, so he decided to lighten things up with a cheeky Instagram post of himself posing starkers in a pile of lentils, and the photo blew up online, of course, and the naked farmer was born.
Just after finishing high school, Victorian farmer Ben Brooksby experienced a serious health scare.
I was driving down the main street of, my hometown and had my licence, so I just turned 18, so it was a pretty exciting time. And as you do, follow your mates around, and all of a sudden, as I was driving, I couldn't breathe properly, and my vision went all blurry and started shaking and sweating, and it was really weird. So I quickly pulled over because I thought I might have been having a stroke or a heart attack or something.
That night, Ben ended up in emergency, where he was told there was nothing wrong. But over the next few months, even simple tasks like going to the supermarket would cause him to break out in a sweat.
It wasn't until my grandma, she sat me down, she's like, how come you can't, get the groceries and whatever? And I just said, I just don't really like people and whatever. And she goes, oh, maybe we should go see the doctor, our family doctor. And didn't really want to, but got to keep grandma happy. So we went into the family doctor and explained what was going on, and straight away she goes, you're having anxiety attacks.
This was the first time that Ben realised what he was going through was perfectly normal, and with the support of his family, he learned to manage his anxiety. Then in 2017, a photo shoot with a friend changed Ben's life forever.
A good mate of mine, Emma Cross, she popped out to the farm just to get some harvest shots. She loves being out on the farm and getting some, agricultural shots. And we sort of talked about how funny it would be if we did a calendar and had me naked around the farm. We got a photo in the canola, but then we also got this photo of me in the back of a truck full of lentils. Don't stress, because nobody ate those lentils. They went back into seed. But I posted that on my personal social media, and a lot of mates and that thought got a good laugh out of it, and it, got people's attention.
This gave Ben an idea. Within a few days, he launched The Naked Farmer, a group of social media accounts showcasing cheeky photos of Aussie farmers getting their gear off, all with the goal of promoting mental health awareness.
If you see a photo of a tractor or a paddock or whatever, you just keep scrolling because it doesn't interest you. But if there's a naked farmer there, they'll more than likely read the caption. And we hear a lot that, you see the photo, you show a mate, and, it sparks that conversation.
Over the past 5 years, The Naked Farmer has become a social media sensation in regional Australia. As well as receiving hundreds of submissions, Ben has travelled all over the country taking photos of farmers willing to bear all.
We catch up with them, we do a bit of a farm tour, we might take some photos of just general farm stuff, and then we head inside for a coffee and a bit of smoko and have a bit of a chat. And I might share a bit of my story, and if they feel like that they can trust me because I've shared a bit of my story, then they feel comfortable sharing theirs, and then we take the famous naked farmer shot.
Each year, at least 1 in 5 Aussies living in remote or rural areas experience a mental health disorder. South Australian sheep farmer Carl Mild reckons the real stats are much higher.
Out on the farm, you can go a week, 2 weeks without seeing somebody, sort of thing, and we're not out in the middle of nowhere, but we're still isolated, and you can be working some pretty long hours on the tractors, and it is draining. You're there with your thoughts for a lot of the day, and if you can't find a way to channel those thoughts positively, they can really eat you up pretty quickly.
There's a little bit more to your left, and just look down at the flower, grab it and just have a look at the pods.
It's not easy to get naked. I was very nervous, but you gotta, it's for the right cause, so you go out and do it. And the way he confronts you, he makes you feel so at ease. I feel even if you were somebody that would definitely not be able to do it, he could make you feel like you can do it.
3, 2, 1. Oh, nailed it that time.
Just out of Simone and I doing that picture, we got so many whistles and good on you, and it was just amazing. It was very exhilarating.
If I can stand there with 17 other people, freezing cold in a hot pink apron, and say that I'm making a stand against mental health, the next person should feel safe that they can put their hand out and say, I don't want to be chatty, I probably don't want to even have a yarn, but I just want to feel like I'm not alone.
I remember this girl come up and she said, oh, you're the naked farmer. And she said, I showed my dad this and we talked about it. We talked about the naked farmer and we talked about mental health. And it's the first time that he's ever talked about mental health, and it really opened up the conversation in the car today. So thank you for that. I get goosebumps now just thinking about that.
Really loving these flowers. They're the perfect way to decorate after a good spring clean. It's a time for decluttering, sprucing up and revising not only our environment, but our wardrobe, our skin routine ahead of those warmer months. It's the perfect time to throw away any of those products that are older than 6 to 12 months and do away with any complex skin routines, because it's all about simple skincare that gives great results and no fuss. And speaking of squeaky clean, look out for products that don't use harsh synthetics. Instead, look for ingredients that are naturally sourced, like chamomile, aloe vera, witch hazel, and green tea. Avoid ingredients like sulfates, which can strip oils from the skin. The toner should be alcohol-free and easily absorbed for hydration. A spray is a great warm weather option and can be kept cool in the fridge for an even more refreshing spritz on hot days. So top it off with your beautiful daily moisturiser, something like this that has those amazing ingredients like rosehip, avocado, sesame, and jojoba. And it's not complete without a beautiful mini massage. A 2021 PwC consumer survey found globally we're highly motivated to shop sustainably, and that has increased even more in the past year. We are shopping more and more in a way that aligns with our personal values. That's why Sukin has committed to developing 100% reusable, refillable, recyclable, or compostable packaging by 2025. Beautifully cleansed and refreshed. And let's top it off with a chamomile crown.
Jade Kay there with some great tips on how to spring clean our skin and our beauty routines. And now in terms of current beauty trends, well, it's not really beauty, we're talking actually toothbrushes, Das. Did you know that your toothbrush is a Petri dish? Like, it's actually a cesspool of germs and bacteria.
No, I didn't. And it is a little bit disturbing when you say it, but I'm not a germaphobe, so it doesn't really concern me that. But having said, if I've accidentally used Beck's toothbrush by mistake, all bets are off.
Oh, it's the most disgusting thing. I can't even. I discovered my husband was doing it. Like, I'd go, why is my toothbrush wet already? And I said, have you been using my toothbrush? He's going, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, that is not fine. That's not fine. Have some boundaries.
Not intentionally, but it's like, if Beck used my toothbrush, well, get over it.
All right, so here's some things that might freak you out. If you leave your toothbrush near a toilet, it can come in contact with bacteria like E. coli.
Well, that's
pretty gross.
That next level, yeah.
Yes.
I can safely say that my toothbrush stored well away from the toilet, Joe.
That's good to know. And there's a couple of things you can do if you're having a heart palpitation about the bacteria on your toothbrush. Firstly, replace it every 3 to 6 months. Secondly, pour a bit of mouthwash over it after you clean your teeth to wash out any germs. I'd never heard this before, but I love that idea. And 3, let it dry out. Just don't throw it in the drawer and let it grow more bacteria. It's got to dry out.
I reckon the electric toothbrush is something to consider, Joe, or just to change the heads every few months. That sounds like, I must admit, I don't use one, but I...
Oh, they're the best.
Really?
Oh, I I love an electric toothbrush.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It feels like you've been to the dentist. So good. I'm a big one for brushing the tongue as well.
I'm big on that. Tongue scraper. I start my day every day with a tongue scraper.
Yeah. You get those toothbrushes with the flat ends that are designed to clean teeth. We're learning a lot about each other right now.
So, Joe, I want to introduce a term that we're referring to as the wellness pit. And I mean where people are trying to tick all the wellness boxes every day, like exercise, food preparation, healthy relationships, get their finances right, study at the same time, clean the house, hobbies, meditate. The list goes on, and you can end up in this pit where you never feel like you're doing it. Can you relate to that or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we set goals for ourselves, but then they become should statements. And so we torture ourselves. We should be doing this, we should be doing that. And what we're not doing, I think at the top of that list is acceptance. Where's acceptance in all that? And just go, I accept that this is who I am with deep gratitude and I'm okay with that. It feels like there's not enough hours in the day to get all of that stuff done. Let's be still and just accept.
And I love daily routine. I love habits and it really is a thing that I think keeps me going. But you've got to allow yourself off the hook too. Like if it doesn't work out for you on any given day or you don't eat particularly well on that day, you can't let that snowball into play. Where it's actually less healthy for you to have that routine in the first place.
Yes, I agree. I think you don't want to put pressure on yourself. Take one day at a time. Set goals for yourself that make yourself feel healthier. I think choices that we can make choices that we know are going to be good for ourselves, but at the same time, there's always tomorrow.
Well, I agree, Joe. I think meditation has been that thing that has stuck for me over a long period of time, and I know you value it as well, but not to the point where you beat yourself up if you miss a day. I think that becomes unhealthy, as you said. Well, that's it for today. It's all we've got time for the show. You can go to our website, houseofwellness.com.au, for anything you've seen on today's show or anything you want to catch up on.
You can hear me and Gerald Quigley on the House of Wellness radio show every Sunday. And don't miss the latest in the House of Wellness podcast series, Best of You. One of my favourite episodes recently dropped. It's all about losing a partner and navigating that incredible pain. You can find it wherever you find your podcasts.
Yeah, congratulations on that, Joe. It's fantastic. Look forward to hearing that episode. And I've been enjoying the conversations I've been having with different leaders from a range of backgrounds. I caught up with Janie Martino, the founder of Smiling Mind recently, who's done incredible things in that world, and Rob Sitch from Working Dog behind the Australian Classics, the dish and the Castle as well, one of the most creative people you ever meet. You can find that podcast where you find all podcasts as well. And thanks as always to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. Stay well and we'll see you next time.